My name is McKenna Bailey, and today I'm going to be talking about genetically modified organisms. So, in a recent study from the Huffington Post, 70% of corn and 90% of soy is all genetically modified in the United States. So the purpose of this speech would be to convince you by a policy of human rights that we have a right to know what we're putting into our body, and that the government should mandate labeling on all genetically modified organisms. So the term "you are what you eat" has a new meaning when you realize that what you're eating is not actually what you're getting. Today we'll inhale the information that the FDA keeps under wraps, process the cause and the issue of where it stems from, and regurgitate the solutions that will keep you in contact with your personal choices of health. So right now I'm going to start to talk about the seasons and what used to be. I don't know if you remember growing up, but there were seasons in the grocery store where you couldn't get strawberries or tomatoes or other sorts of summer fruits during the winter. Well, now if you haven't noticed, the grocery store is just an array of everything at all times of the year, no matter what, and this is because of genetically modified organisms. So, being a communications student at ASU, I am from California, and so in California we did have a thing called the Proposition 37 that I worked on in high school, and I was actually in part of, I wrote a reform for. So I know a little bit about the subject. So the statement of purpose is to educate you on the fact that what the food we're eating is not actually what it is. And the idea that GMOs entering our bodies without consent isn't fair to any of us. So our problem is going to begin with a company called Monsanto that genetically modifies corn, soybeans, and pretty much anything else that you can do. If you don't know what a GMO is, it is a plant or organism, so animals too, that has actually had its genes altered. So, long story short, I can give you an example of the tomato. What happened is with the tomato is that it's a summer fruit. It grows only in the summertime. It was made to grow only in the summertime. And biotechnical companies wanted to be able to grow it in the winter or throughout the year. So what they did is they took the genome of an Alaskan flounder, which is a fish that can live up north, and they took the gene that it had so that it could survive cold temperatures, and actually crossbred it with the tomato so that it could survive cold temperatures as well. So the issue with this is that GMOs are actually linked to severe health issues, such as certain types of cancers and autism. Although we have no direct proof from the FDA that this is true, we do note that the Institute for Responsible Technologies says the tomatoes are not actually the only issue. DNA from plants, bacteria, animals, and viruses are also used for these traits as well, to put into other sorts of fruits and vegetables, as well as animals. So like cows that are brought up with that are raised on corn. Cows are actually not supposed to be fed on corn. They're supposed to be fed grass. And so, therefore, the corn they're being fed is genetically modified, and what the cow that you're eating when you eat meat is genetically modified as well. So, the illusion of the grocery store is that if you actually take a look at what's in the grocery store, everything comes from one place. It all dates back to either a corn or a soybean field. 97% of foods in the grocery stores, according to the Oxford Journal, contain corn or soy. Other certain types of random things that you can find in a grocery store or your local store would be that contain corn or soy would be toothpaste, yogurt, salad dressing, gum. The milk from cows contains GMOs from cows that are corn-fed, shampoo, diapers, Coca-Cola, and certain types of adhesives. So soy is in 90% of our diets. 85% of our diet, or 85% of all soy grown in the U.S. is genetically modified. And there's actually, there is actually a study on rats that were fed GMO soybeans, and this was done by the Non-GMO Project. And what happened was the rats that were fed the genetically modified soybeans, they were infertile. they're unable to reproduce, and there are signs also that this could be happening in humans as well, because this is what's happening in the laboratories. This is an issue because of no mandate on labels. The lack of awareness due to the government and Monsanto, and what Monsanto does to us is that they convince the FDA to hide this from us, that our food is genetically modified. So ties with the FDA is ties that Monsanto has with the FDA is there's actually multiple people in the government and who work for the FDA that are also linked to Monsanto. So prior to being in the Supreme Court judge, Clarence Thomas was Monsanto's lawyer. The U.S. Secretary of Agriculture was on the board of directors for Monsanto's Calgene Corporation. The Secretary of Defense was on the board of directors of Monsanto's Searle Pharmaceuticals. And the U.S. Secretary of Health was sponsored by Monsanto in his government campaign. So there's no reason. So this is also links to why Monsanto is telling us about, or is able to hide their issues with the FDA. So what I propose for the solution would be like in Proposition 37. Like in California, they proposed a law that just the genetically modified organisms should be labeled in the grocery store. We should have a right to know, and right now we don't. What we're eating can be genetically modified, and there's no law saying that we have a right to know what it is. So, in 50 plus countries around the world, the genetically modified organisms have either been banned completely, or there's a mandate on labeling, so that you yourself have the right to choose whether or not you want to eat it or not. So in Hope for the Future, and the fact that 90% of the food that we're eating and is available to us today is genetically modified, I would like to think of it as this. This can be easily solved by buying organic foods, buying locally, and I'd like to think of the solution as to this. If you're being sold a jacket or a handbag in a store, you're being told that it's 100% real leather, you come to find that it's not, would you be upset? It's the same with your food. Your food isn't 100% what it says. So, thank you.